guys, hope I'm here. Gonna be finishing up the Moments of Justice Crusade for a Turnback. Episode 8. Alright, hopefully there's no advertisements. I went through it, but more than likely there's gonna be some, so just gotta endure that crap. As I went through each section. But yeah, it looks like this isn't the final trial, unfortunately. They're gonna keep making this thing going forever. I don't know why. Well, the other trials didn't last that long. So, yeah, it's almost the holidays. Christmas is coming up. Fun fact, Jesus was actually born in September, so Christmas is technically just, I guess, Santa's birthday. He was created in 1800s. So, yeah. More you know. Thank goodness for Facebook and all the internet. Kind of gives you all the info you need about everything nowadays. Anyway, let's get to this.
Sweetie?
Sweetie Belle!
Alright, so we're Sweetie Belle. Gotcha.
Here's how I think the whole incident happened.
Unlocked.
Before Sweetie Belle left with Rarity for yesterday's trial, she left one of the boutique's entrances unlocked. She then would have told Silver Spoon about the unlocked entrance, telling her to break in that way.
But when could she have told her that?
It would have
How
been
do you know
yesterday,
she let her out?
just before the trial
no,
for
she didn't just
Scoodle and
accidentally
Turning
forgot
Page
the
began.
lock.
They were both already at the courtroom after all. Sweetie Belle had been brought by Rarity, and Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara had been summoned by you, Prosecutor Luna.
I think I get what you mean, Athena. And I'm even pretty sure I know how the opportunity to talk to Silver Spoon could have arisen.
You do?
They are making this court case
Yes.
a lot more
You see,
complicated
Your
than
Honor,
it needs
that
to be.
morning, right before the trial began,
I guarantee
there
you,
was
real
a
courtrooms are
pretty
a lot
big
faster than
argument
this.
between the three Cutie Mark Crusaders. Afterwards, Sweetie Belle ran off. She could have used that moment to search for Silver Spoon and share her plan.
A plan which would involve breaking into Carousel Boutique.
But why would she
Yep,
need
they sort of
somebody to
advertisements.
break in
Do
the
not
first place?
like and subscribe to these people.
The only reason I can
That is
think of is
extremely
that
rude of
Sweetie
them to have
Belle
somebody
needed
goddamn
something
advertised.
inside that she couldn't get while she was with
They
Rarity.
should not get paid for this.
So,
at all.
Silver Spoon entered via the open entrance.
All
She
YouTubes
must have
should be
locked it
free.
behind her to avoid being caught.
People who make
After
YouTube
some
shouldn't make a
time,
penny
she
off it.
must have found whatever she was looking
Supposed to
for
be
and
for
began
fun.
to leave. But that was when she was attacked by Rarity's cat, Opalescence. She drew blood, forcing Silver Spoon to get away by going through the front door. And as she was leaving, she engaged the thumb turn lock and closed the door behind her. That locked up the boutique completely and created the illusion that it had always been locked.
Alright.
No, that's not true. I was never near Carousel Boutique. I never talked to Sweetie Belle.
No
Yet
one
you
ever
were
tells the
bleeding
truth
when you
in
went into
these.
Diamond Tiara's house. All we need to do is find the area on you where you'd been bleeding and test the blood against the blood found in the boutique. But you and I both know that won't be necessary, Silver Spoon. There's no point in hiding it. Admit it. You were the one who broke into Carousel Boutique yesterday.
Admit it.
Okay.
Yeah, she did it.
I admit it. It was me. Before I went to Diamond Tiara's house, I broke into Carousel Boutique. Silver Spoon!
But why? What were you looking for in the boutique?
Yeah. Did they want that
It was
another
the
golden scroll?
magazine, wasn't it?
Oh, the magazine.
Diamond Tiara said you brought it to her house yesterday. You must have gone to the boutique in order to retrieve
Wait,
it.
so does that mean
We might not
it
know that
was
for certain,
made
but I
by
think it'd be easy enough to check.
That's
Sweetie
true.
Belle?
We could ask Rarity to see if the magazines belong to her. We could even search the boutique again to see if there's any evidence to show that a magazine had gone missing.
Yes, it would be simple. But to break into the boutique, all for a magazine?
Yeah,
It's
what's
not
the
so
point?
innocuous, Your Honor. Have you forgotten why we started down this path in the first place? That magazine has some of its pages cut. Some magazine cuttings were found in the anonymous tip that implicated Turning Page. Those cuttings match the ones found in the magazine. And that means...
Sweetie Belle must have made it.
Miss Sykes,
Yes, Prosecutor Luna? Well, she looks tired.
Well, of course she's tired. She works at night.
This is the conclusion you'd come to before, isn't it?
So why was Sweetie Belle write
Then
the letter?
perhaps
doesn't
you'd
make
best tell the court.
Hope we get more info.
Tell the court what exactly?
Thank you for trusting in me, Prosecutor Luna. I know it couldn't have been easy. Your Honor, now that we have confirmed all of this, we now know the true identity of the pony who sent that anonymous tip. It was whoever owned that magazine and could cut it up.
Sweetie Belle.
That can only be Sweetie Belle herself.
What? Me?
But that's not all. Now that we know that, we can also figure out why she asked Silver Spoon to break into Carousel Boutique to retrieve that magazine. Sweetie Belle did not want it known that she wrote the anonymous tip. So, she needed to pin the blame on some pony else by implicating them through underhanded means. As the court will recall, when I first brought out this magazine and said it had been found in Diamond Tiara's home, it was believed she was the true sender of the tip. But that was all a ruse orchestrated by Sweetie Belle. She had Silver Spoon steal the magazine from Carousel Boutique and plant it in Diamond Tiara's bedroom.
That still doesn't mean I wrote it! Or heck, that I even sent it! How'd I be able to do that, huh? I can't just walk up to the police station and leave it there.
Why keep all these secrets? What in the world is going on here?
If I did send that tip, how could I have delivered it?
That's a fair point. She wouldn't have had an opportunity to send it by traditional means.
Exactly!
Could Sugar Stamp have helped in any way?
No. After all, she'd have no way of making the tip. She wasn't the one who had the magazines. Sweetie Belle was. But if she couldn't have sent it traditionally, what if there was a way to send it in a non-traditional manner?
Teleport?
Non-traditional.
I don't think she's strong enough for teleportation magic.
No. You don't mean...
Huh? Hold on a second. Where are Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and Spike?
Spike headed out just after you guys left for the detention center.
I asked him to go
Hi.
check in on Sweetie Belle for me. I suppose he must still be with her.
But why would...
It's the
Why
only
is
way
this
that it
kid...
makes sense,
Why is this
Twilight.
more complicated than it needs to be?
Defense? Have you found an answer?
We have, Your Honor.
You have?
Your Honor, at the time that the tip was sent on the 13th, Rarity had sent my friend Spike to check up on Sweetie Belle, who had said she hadn't been feeling that well.
I thought his magic
Spike
only
is a
sends
baby
stuff to
dragon,
Celestia.
and he has a special ability. He can send letters via his magic fire breath.
Oh, so I see.
Yep.
But like I said, it
Here,
normally only goes to
way too long
Celestia.
for him to not even bat an eye at that.
Miss Sparkle, you're saying that when Spike went up to check on Sweetie Belle, she could have asked him to send that tip to the police station?
That's right. And she could have asked him to do it, and to keep it a secret. Spike would have trusted that she'd have good reason for asking it to be kept quiet. But now...
Whether or not he knew the thing he was sending was an anonymous tip implicating Turning Page,
This really
Spike
is
still sent
super
it anyway.
complicated.
That's how it was delivered without any pony seeing who sent it.
But wait a minute! You also said that I got Silver Spoon to get that magazine back in order to free Diamond Tiara. But why would Silver Spoon do that to her best
Why
friend?
don't you tell the damn truth for once?
Yeah, why?
I suspect it has to do
Truth
with
is
what
always
happened in the
quicker.
woods the
Just
night of
saying.
Royal Order's murder. If Silver Spoon really helped
What
Sweetie
trouble
Belle
you
when
think
she
you
was
kids are
hurt,
gonna get
that
now?
also means she was the one who went to Zikora's hut to steal a healing potion. I think, using that information against her, Sweetie Belle could have persuaded Silver Spoon into helping enact her plan.
That only holds up if Silver Spoon really did help me that night. And there's no proof she did.
Again,
right
how
in
much
saying
trouble
there's
do you
no
think
proof
you
she
can
did
get?
help
Why
you.
do you why
But
lie
there's
this
an
much?
easy way of determining that once and for all.
There is?
In the previous trial, we learned that both Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon had blood on their hooves. We thought it belonged to Royal Order, but Silver Spoon confessed before we could verify that. Yet, today, Silver Spoon admitted that, Instead of joining Diamond Tiara in the gorge, she chased after Scootaloo and Turning Page. Diamond Tiara still got her hooves bloody by touching the body, but somehow, so did Silver Spoon. So how did her hooves get bloody if she hadn't touched the body? And whose blood did it belong to?
No.
That blood could only belong to Sweetie Belle.
Okay.
Silver Spoon's hooves got covered in it when she helped make the tourniquet. All we need to do is conduct one final blood test, and then we'd know for certain that Silver Spoon did help her that night, and that would confirm everything else.
Alright. Stop slamming
The sending of the
table.
anonymous tip, the break-in at Carousel Boutique, and the framing of Diamond Tiara. It was all planned and orchestrated by Sweetie Belle.
She finally tell the truth. Yay! Trying more water than she has.
Sweetie Belle? All that
Why
the
are
defense
you
has
so
claimed has
afraid?
been laid out
Seriously.
in full.
You're a
The
child.
only thing left
Worst you're gonna get is
is
grounded.
for you to confirm everything. I know you're scared. I know you want to run.
Oh, goodness
But there can
forbid
be
you
no
can't go
more
outside
running.
for a week.
Not from this. You must face the
Most
truth
kids never
once
go
and
outside
for all.
anyway. All of them are on video games.
Please,
Just like adults.
think of your sister, who no doubt sits in the gallery worried out of her mind. Think of
She
your
probably got the
friends.
drama couch out and everything.
This whole affair must surely come to a shock to all of them. You will no doubt have to face their reactions once outside of this courtroom. The time for reparations will occur then. But for now, you must tell us.
What really happened that night? That goes for you too, Silver Spoon.
Me?
I know that night was traumatic for both of you, but we have a chance to confront it.
Like I said
Please,
before, what kind of trouble
tell
do you
us
think those
what
two are gonna get in?
happened.
They know they didn't murder anybody, and they have nothing to worry about.
Okay, Athena.
Besides getting grounded.
That night was the scariest night of my life. I really thought after that Timberwolf attacked me, I wouldn't make it out. That I'd die, alone, in that dumb forest.
You thought you'd die? Just how severe was your injury?
Yeah.
My leg had nearly been ripped off.
Jeez.
I guess the Timberwolf had gone crazy after it ate Royal Order's body. Like it was drunk with blood or something. I could barely stay conscious long
I
enough
mean,
to get
in the
behind
show,
the
we've
statue.
never seen a
That was when I
Timberwolf go
showed
that
up.
crazy before.
DT told me to
But
chase
then it
after
wouldn't be
Scootaloo and Turning Page,
TVY.
but I never found them. What I did find, however, was blood on the crossroads. I thought one of them had gotten hurt, so I followed it to its source. It led me to the statue, but there wasn't any pony there. I was about to leave when I heard what sounded like moaning coming from behind the statue. I was already scared by everything that happened, but I couldn't help being curious and, well, I went to look behind the statue. What I found was Sweetie Belle. She was in a very bad state. I remember calling out to her, too shocked to do anything else. She didn't respond, just made another moan, one that sounded weaker than the last.
And that was when you decided to help her.
That's a good thing to do.
I couldn't just let her bleed out there. My parents work at a hospital. They understand the value of pony life. And even though they aren't around a whole lot,
I don't know
still
what
taught me the
today's kids
importance
would
of
do.
all
They probably
lives,
just pull out
too.
their camera and just watch the person as they
Using, I
die.
assume, what medical knowledge you do
I don't
have,
really know what
you
you
managed
do,
to scrape
even
together
nowadays.
the force debris to fashion this tourniquet, thus allowing you to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, and I stayed there, by Sweetie Belle's side, until she regained consciousness. When I awoke, I felt fuzzy and disoriented.
But why were
I
you
didn't
there in the first
recognize
place?
who was next
Oh,
to me.
right, the scroll.
But then I realized it was Silver Spoon. I was shocked. I tried asking her why she was there, but all she did was ask me questions about how I was feeling. Then she asked if I could walk. I looked at my leg and saw the tourniquet, and when I stood, I found I could move a little. The tourniquet wouldn't hold forever, though. And Sweetie Belle's wounds were bad. She needed to get to a hospital, but we were too deep in the Everfree Forest to get there in time.
So you went to
I
Sakura's.
asked if she had any ideas to what we should do, and she said she knew a place that had a healing potion we could use to fix her leg.
You mean Sakura's hut?
Uh-huh.
Now you owe her.
We walked there together and knocked on her door, but there wasn't any pony home. So Silver Spoon went inside to grab the potion herself. I don't know what Sakura puts in that stuff, but it managed to seal the wound almost immediately, and I could walk without it hurting.
Kinda like in Skyrim.
It did itch for a while afterwards, though.
You two then made your way out of the Everfree Forest afterwards?
Yeah. I also saw Sweetie Belle home so that she didn't have to walk alone. We
You're a good friend.
started talking.
About what?
My friendship with Diamond Tiara.
Oh, this must be before they got their cutie marks.
I'm
When Diamond Tiara
kinda jealous of
sang
you
her song.
three. Us three? You mean
And they finally
me, Apple
got
Bloom,
their
and
cutie marks.
Scootaloo?
I know the fandom
What?
was super happy for them.
Because you all seem so close. You get to have fun with each other all the time. Well, yeah. That's because we're friends. Don't you get to do that sort of thing with Diamond Tiara?
I know she's kind of a bee.
Please don't ever tell Diamond Tiara what I'm about to tell you. Promise me. Alright. I don't really think DT and I are friends like you three are. We definitely don't get along like you girls do.
Yeah, it's kind of a
Sometimes I
one-way
think it's
friendship.
because we're really just filling in gaps that our parents left for us. Diamond Tiara's parents are... them. And mine aren't ever around. That's really
normal.
sad, Silver Spoon. How'd you two even meet? At a party. Something that the richest
Most of my
threw,
parents were usually
and that my
always
parents
working
and
when
I were
was a kid.
invited to. Of course, when we went, my parents left me to go talk to other ponies. But that was when I met Diamond Tiara. Because we were the same age, we really hit it off. And for a while,
For us
I thought,
guys, we only become
thought
friends
that
if
was
we have the
alright,
same
you know?
interests.
I thought that was what I wanted out of a friendship. But now I see how you act around Scootaloo and Apple Bloom. How you're always smiling and laughing. And it makes me feel less happy with whatever I have with DT. Like I realize I've
Yeah, you
been
kinda
missing
like her servant.
something. If that's the case, then why don't you just say you don't want to be friends with her anymore? Because I'm scared that if I do, I won't have anyone else to talk to.
Yep, I know that
But no
feeling.
one will want to talk to me.
But because I moved so much. I kind of lost all my
Silverspoon?
friends, so.
I have to ask. Did you take part in that blackmailing? Did you steal our stuff and leave that letter for us to find? I did.
Ah!
You shouldn't have done that, Silver Spoon. No pony wants to be friends with a blackmailer. I know that. I'm sorry.
Very true.
Thank you
very
for
true.
helping me out, though. You're welcome, Sweetie Belle.
And no one likes being friends with someone who has an
Actually-
anger problem.
I don't know if
I
I
lost
have
so
any
many
right
friends
to
because of
ask
my
this,
anger.
but, do you think you'd ever want to hang out? Guess not.
Wow.
Can't say I
Just
blame her.
wow.
The next day, I was still at home trying to recover from my injury when I heard from Rarity that Scootaloo had been arrested.
That's also when we learned from Rarity that you were feeling sick. I remember you weren't that cooperative when we went to talk to you.
I know. I'm sorry, Princess
You
Twilight,
hold all this back
but I
just
was really worried.
because why?
I mean, I knew that the murder had occurred
You
at
lied
the
this whole
statue,
time
but
just-
I'd been there too.
why?
My blood was at the scene. I was afraid I'd be arrested.
Ah,
That's why I didn't want to help. But even so, I couldn't just sit by and let Scootaloo suffer. So after you and the others left, I decided to write that anonymous tip.
Saying that Turning Page had killed his father in the Everfree Forest?
Yep. But at first, I didn't really want to go through with it. It wasn't until Spike showed up to check on me that I decided to have it sent anyway. He asked me what it was, but I told him to trust me, that it wasn't anything bad. I also told him that if he did
You
this,
said he
I'd
killed
set
his
him up on
father.
a
That's
date with
kinda
Rarity.
bad.
Sweetie Belle! That's incredibly manipulative of you.
I know that! But I had to do it when I had the courage. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to. Not that it ended up working out anyway. Turning Page getting accused didn't get Scootaloo acquitted. If anything, it just made the whole situation worse for the two of them.
Yep.
I also knew that at some point, I'd be found out. And I couldn't bear to face Scootaloo if she learned what I did to Turning, knowing how she feels. So
She
that's
likes
when
your
I
buddy.
decided to try and plant the magazine in Diamond Tiara's home. That way, Scootaloo would think she sent it, not me.
I sense that was not the only reason, however.
No. I did it too because I wanted to get back at Diamond Tiara for what she did to us.
But even then, you couldn't actually plant the magazine yourself. Rarity forced you to come to the trial.
I was even more afraid then. I thought for sure I'd be arrested. So I needed a way to make sure I wasn't on any pony's radar.
And that must have led to you leaving one of the entrances to the boutique unlocked.
This is
Right.
actually well thought out.
The
for a
back door
kid.
one. While Rarity was preparing to leave, I thought about how I could get this plan to work, and realized I'd have to rely on Silver Spoon. I had a feeling she and Diamond Tiara would show up during the trial once the blackmail was uncovered, so I was sure I'd be able to find her then.
That would have been right after the fight you had in the lobby before the trial.
It wasn't hard to find her. She was in the witness lobby waiting to be summoned. I figured that whatever happened during the trial, she and Diamond would get off thanks to their families, which meant she'd be available to help me after the trial, which was what my plan needed to happen. I managed to get her away from Diamond Tiara to talk to her alone, and that was when I told her my plan, but I didn't want to do it. She was asking me to break into some pony's house and steal something for Celestia's sake.
Yeah.
Even if it was with her permission, it was out of the question. I tried to convince her that it wasn't worth staying attached to Diamond's hip when she was about to sink. I even brought up what she said in the previous night, but Silver Spoon wouldn't budge, no matter what I said.
Alright.
So that's when you had to play a different card.
Yeah. I demanded that Silver Spoon do what I asked, or I'd tell Diamond what she told me, and Sakura about the potions she stole.
Ah, you little blackmailer.
Purdue University Global. Apply now at purdueglobal.edu.
1 Million. Fragrance for Men by Paco Rabanne.
Why do they need so many advertisements for
blackmailed
one
her.
video? Seriously.
That potion! I only learned later that it was in high demand at the hospital. If my parents learned that I'd stolen and used it, they'd be furious. So, I had no choice. I said I'd do what she'd asked. In the end, what I was afraid of did happen. I was found out and arrested. But my plan still worked. Silver Spoon wasn't detained for long and made her way to the boutique to steal the magazine. It was just like you described, Athena. I entered through the unlocked entrance and found the magazine. But then I got attacked by Opalescence, and she scratched me a little.
Defense cat.
I managed to get away through the front door, engaging the lock before it closed. Afterwards, I went to DT's house to place the magazine in the
Your
trash.
tail stuck in the door.
That was just a few minutes before you all arrived. But that's everything. Everything Silver Spoon did. Everything I did. Everything.
Well, I guess I can see why you kind of kept it a secret, but goddamn. Well, you two are getting grim.
There is some tragic irony in all of this, Sweetie Belle, which I do not think you have realized.
That she's got manipulated.
Tragic irony?
These actions you took, don't they seem quite familiar to you?
Blackmail, framing, subterfuge, lying. They're nearly the
Diamond
same
Tiara.
actions Diamond Tiara took against you, your friends, and Turning Page. In trying to stop what she was doing, you ended up doing what she did anyway.
The meek little prey became the vicious predator, biting back with vengeance.
That's what you get for horsing around.
You're right. You're completely right.
Okay.
What have I done?
Well, you're gonna get around it, that's for darn sure.
Witnesses, you may step down from the stand now.
Yes, Your Honor.
I thought the stand was like right next to the
Miss Sykes,
judge.
Yes, Prosecutor Luna?
it appears we have come to an end of the winding trail you set us upon. We have managed to uncover a great deal of revelations, and with them some complicated feelings, I am sure.
Yeah.
Much has been said now about what happened following this murder, and we have managed, I believe, to piece together a fuller picture of the actions many took these past few days. But this discovery, this confession, these revelations, what were they all for?
What were they all for?
Indeed.
They're trying to prove the innocence.
In perhaps an equally tragically ironic sense, we have learned much about everything around the murder, but very little about the murder itself.
True.
I
Still
must
don't know who
agree.
killed who.
For as cathartic as this confession was,
That's
has
a
it
big
led
word.
us to uncovering anything further about the true nature of Royal Order's murder?
I think we have at least uncovered one thing. You noticed it as well, Athena?
I did, Twilight.
Yeah.
Really?
Your Honor, what we just heard from Silver Spoon and Sweetie Belle doesn't just reveal to us their part in all of this. It also reveals a huge contradiction.
And just what would this huge contradiction be?
Let me show you. Silver Spoon said that she had followed after Turning Page in Scootaloo, right? She went down the crossroads before she ended up at the statue. Now, we know that she went there before Royal Order's body ended up near the castle ruins. That tells us that she must have been chasing them around the same time that Sugar Stamp was flying over.
Okay.
You're saying...
Precisely. Sugar Stamp told us that when she was flying over the path, she saw two ponies heading towards each other. One was Sakura, and the other was Turning Page. But she never mentioned seeing Silver Spoon or any pony else on the path. How could she have missed her? But neither Sakura nor Turning Page.
Aha! That is quite the contradiction, isn't it?
Indeed.
So Miss Sugar Stamp's confession contradicts Silver Spoon's. How do you explain that, Miss Sykes? Was Silver Spoon lying?
Man.
I don't think so, no. Too many of her events match up with our evidence. That leaves us with Sugar Stamp's confession. It's far more likely she's the one lying about who she saw.
We also know, from what Private Eye confessed to, that the murder weapon was fabricated too. Her entire confession and testimony must be false.
Furthermore, the fact that Private Eye went out of his way to fabricate such evidence tells us he did so in order to support her entire confession.
Her entire confession? You mean not just the murder, but also...
Right, Your Honor. Her moving the body is also a fabrication.
Eh?
In other words, everything that Sugar Stamp allegedly confessed to, murdering Royal Order at the clearing, moving his body, and framing Turning Page in Scootaloo, is nothing but a carefully crafted lie. Objection!
So you return to that claim yet again, Miss Sykes. Yet I am not sure that Sugar Stamp and Private Eye were in cahoots over this.
They probably
But even
were.
if I were convinced, surely even you can see how what you've proposed
It's quite
puts
obvious
us
the
all
three
in a
of
difficult
them and
situation.
the mother working together.
Difficult? How so, Prosecutor Luna?
Your Honor, if the defense is right, that the body at the clearing was neither moved nor killed by Sugar Stamp, then what actually did happen? For
Good
regardless
question.
of what did happen, one thing remains certain. The body was still moved.
Yes, indeed. I would like to know what the defense thinks.
Okay, Athena. Everything's finally come to this point. I need to take a moment and think this through one step at a time. If I'm right about this, then we have no explanation for how the body was moved. But maybe I need to change my thinking here. Instead of focusing on how to explain the body being moved, maybe I should focus on why the body needed to be moved in the first place.
Yeah. Okay.
Sugarstan and Private Eye were working together to falsify the events that happened at the clearing, so whatever they produced cannot be trusted. Taking that into consideration, what do we have that we know can be trusted definitively? What can tell us what happened in that clearing?
The mother is a unicorn, if I was not mistaken, so she can move the body.
Of course! Sonata found blood at the clearing. Private was in court during the blood's discovery, so there's no way he could have faked a blood test for it. That means that this really is Royal Order's blood. But what does that tell us? All we could really say is that a big pool of his blood was there at the scene. Is there anything that could point to where it came from?
Sure. Well, I guess they do have that colorful. Blood ring?
That's right. The blood rings belong to Royal Order too.
My only one
They
thinking
didn't
about
end up
what
there
court
when he
is just
died,
looking at
so
her
some
like,
pony else had to have splashed his blood.
is she gonna
And when they
answer,
did so,
or
they
what's
must have
going on?
splashed the blood in the direction of the clearing. Yet somehow, no one reported this blood being found on the ground. How could the blood have gotten only onto the trees and formed in such a weird way? What if...
It's hard to read that. Blood was moved by levitation.
That's it! If the blood was moved from one place to another using unicorn levitation, then it would likely form the rings around the trees. Then that suggests that the blood
that
found at
makes
the
sense.
clearing came from the blood at the statue, which would mean there was
What?
never a murder at the clearing to begin with, only at the statue. But that means...
No clone.
No
What?
clone? So, that means this entire time, we've been chasing after a ruse?
That is confusing.
This is somehow even more insane than the clone theory itself! Ugh, I hate having to backpedal on things like this. But it's the only thing that can explain everything we've uncovered.
Yeah, it's
Even
not gonna
so,
look good on you.
our entire position was built on that theory. Now I know it's wrong. But who could have set this whole thing in motion? And why?
The mother.
Athena? What's wrong? You look like you're about to throw up.
Twilight, I just
Oh,
figured
that's funny
something
you did.
out.
Great. Does it help us?
I think so, but it also doesn't?
Huh?
Miss Sykes, I believe we've waited long enough.
Yeah, like 5
Prosecutor
minutes or
Luna
so.
has asked for an explanation, and the court would very much appreciate hearing it.
I don't know how to feel about this. I think I'm on the right track here, but...
Athena?
Huh?
What you figured out, do you think it'll help us find the truth?
Yeah,
Maybe.
but it's...
Then we have to tell the court, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if it might
good
hurt
luck
us
with
now.
that.
If it takes us even one step closer, we have to take that leap.
I know I've been asking this a lot, Twilight, but are you with me?
Always, and to the very end.
Miss
You might
Sykes,
regret that.
I sense that whatever it is you are about to tell the court is causing you some amount of discomfort.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, you cannot relent. You've demonstrated a tremendous level of both faith and ingenuity while defending your clients.
Now it's gonna go
What you
down the
need
toilet.
now is resolve. The necessary resolve to stand tall and go forward with your beliefs, and prove to me that I was not mistaken in mine about trusting you. Is this something you can muster?
Yes, I think so. So, first, let me ask you something. You still believe that there were 2 royal orders that night, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The 2 bloodstains found at the clearing and the statue prove that 2 royal orders were in the Everfree Forest.
But a clone
They do,
doesn't create blood.
if we take those stains at face value.
What are you talking about?
Here's the thing, Prosecutor Luna. Ever since the previous trial, we all believed that clones were involved. Royal Order went to the mirror pool in order to clone himself.
Yes, that was your reasoning. Defense, where are you going with this?
But now, when we take into account at least one of those areas where the blood was found was part of the phony confession, our initial theory gets placed under a new light.
Athena, you don't mean...
Here goes. Prosecutor Luna, Your Honor, Twilight, I believe that despite everything we've heard, despite everything we've supposedly uncovered, the fact of the matter is that this clone never existed in the first place.
What?
What?
Golden Pixie! Have you taken leave of your senses? The existence and subsequent involvement of a clone was your postulation to begin with!
Indeed, Miss Sykes! How is it that now, of all times, you decide to abandon that theory altogether?
Let her talk.
Oh! Athena, you can't seriously think... I mean, when I considered all of the possibilities, I couldn't have anticipated this!
Me neither. But please, just hear me out. I know that was what we were arguing before, but I just now realized our line of thinking was completely wrong.
How could it be? You provided a perfectly sound explanation as to how clones, as absurd as the idea initially was, could be involved with the murder.
How they died.
That's just it. I think the explanation was too perfect.
Explain, Defense.
Here's what I think. When Twilight and I proposed the clone theory, Private Eye had been listening and told Sugar Stamp about it after the trial. They must have used that idea to create this false narrative about a clone.
You mean they didn't plan this from the start?
I don't think so. No one thought of clones until we brought it up. And then, afterwards, everything began lining up with Sugar Stamp's confession.
But why would they do this? Why would they go so far just to create the illusion of there being clones involved?
This is getting real deep.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Then I must reject this madness outright. You know such speculation is not permitted in this court. I thought I could rely on you to abide by that at least.
Get a world-class education with 100% online flexibility at Purdue University Global.
You need proof, and I demand you show it to us immediately.
The bloodstain.
Proof that there were no clones. How can I show that?
This is what you meant before, when you said this could both help and not help us?
Yeah. I know it throws everything we've been arguing out the window, Twilight, but...
No, I see the logic in it. Admittedly, it's a bit simplistic in scope, but they do say that sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. In which case, I think this might actually be the truth.
You do? But then, how do we prove it?
Let me think. So, the clone story was fabricated entirely, correct?
That's right.
Well, if the clones themselves weren't real, then something else about them must not be real too. Like the circumstances around their creation, maybe.
The circumstances?
But we'd have to somehow show those circumstances aren't real either. But short of time traveling back to the moment the clones were supposedly created, which incidentally is now impossible to do.
I got it. I know how to show that.
You do?
Yep.
Ooh.
Thanks, Twilight. Okay. You want proof, Prosecutor Luna? You got it. Take that.
A photo of the mirror pool's entrance? How is this proof?
Look closer. On the boulder itself, you can see a particular species of flower partly growing. These are day bloomers. True to their name, they only bloom during the day. But that's not all. If you look at the vines on the flowers themselves, you concede that they've been cut. If Royal Order had moved the boulder on the night of the murder in order to access the mirror pool, then the flowers shouldn't have blossomed in the following days. Yet, when my friends and I arrived at the scene, they were all blooming. This could only mean that some pony moved that rock in the middle of the day. Perhaps even recently. Possibly right after the previous trial and after we'd presented our clone theory.
That certainly makes an alarming amount of sense.
But who could have moved the boulder then?
Who's the only goddamn unicorn?
There was only one pony who'd be able to do that.
Oh, Private.
Private Eye.
Yeah.
Private Eye?
I think he is.
How?
When we were investigating the mirror pool yesterday, Private Eye let it slip that he was the first of his team to come across the boulder.
When I first found the cave, it was already open like this.
Because of that, he'd be able to make it look like the boulder had already been moved by Royal Order.
Objection! This doesn't prove there were no clones, though.
How come?
Because of how you and Miss Sykes determined definitely that there was a clone that night. The Royal Order whose body was found near the castle ruins died instantly from a wound to the head. But as we learned yesterday, Scootaloo crashed into another Royal Order while fleeing the forest. A Royal Order who happened, as she testified, to still be breathing. How else can you explain one body breathing and one body not breathing if not by admitting the existence of a clone? Furthermore, the body found in the ruins doesn't bear any signs of a scooter crashing into it. Just a large bruise on the side of the abdomen. Once again, how else can you explain this absence of obvious, distinct bruising if not by admitting the existence of a clone? It doesn't make any sense.
You're right. It doesn't make any sense.
What? You admit it?
What we'd established before proved clones were involved, and our strongest evidence was Scootaloo hearing breathing from the body she crashed into. But if clones were not involved, then what Scootaloo thought she heard must have been wrong.
You don't mean to say
that the breathing Scootaloo thought she heard coming from Royal Order didn't come from him. Instead, it must have come from some pony else.
But Miss Scootaloo was so certain she heard it coming directly from Royal Order.
Then logically, it must have come from some pony who was right up against the body itself.
Objection! That claim is ridiculous! How on Equestria could Scootaloo have missed seeing some pony behind the body?
Yeah.
Well, it was quite dark.
Even so, if the moon was bright enough that Scootaloo could see she crashed into Royal Order, then she would have seen some pony behind him. There is no feasible way for any pony to hide that way, and thus no way for her to have heard any pony but Royal Order breathing. Nothing short of a child could have even the slightest chance.
Child? No, that's ridiculous. There wasn't any pony like that who would have had a chance to...
Silver Spoon.
Oh no.
Athena? What is it this time?
Ooh, crap. Silver.
Maybe I'm wrong. I've gotta be. But all my instincts are telling me, screaming at me.
Miss Sykes? Do you need me to call a recess? You appear ill.
I do? I mean, I'm not. But Prosecutor Luna?
Oh boy.
What is it, Miss Sykes?
Before I answer your rebuttal, I want to confirm 2 more things. By asking Silver Spoon and Sweetie Belle to retake the stand.
Miss Sykes, I'm not sure what you're planning now, but... Very well. The prosecution won't object to this.
Your Honor?
Yes, quite right. The court accepts this proposal.
Oh boy.
Athena?
Silver Spoon? When When you were chasing after Scootaloo and Turning Page, you were headed towards the crossroads, right?
Yeah, that was before I found Sweetie Belle.
Previously, Zecora testified that she was headed towards the castle. She would have been on the same road as you were. Before you found Sweetie Belle, did you ever run into Zecora?
Run into? No, actually, I just saw her coming and hid.
You hid?
Yeah, I just jumped away into the forest so that she wouldn't see me.
What?
But that must mean you were the shadowy figure Zecora saw leap out of her way?
That can't be right. Turning Page said he was the one whom Zecora saw.
But Zecora never got a good look at that figure. All she could tell was that it was a child. And think about what we figured out just now, too. About Sugar Stamp's story.
She couldn't have missed seeing Silver Spoon if she saw both Zecora and Turning Page. But that was a lie, wasn't it? Just like the rest of her confession.
Right. But that leaves us with a missing bit of information. Sugar Stamp's story initially told us where Turning Page was after the blackmail deal went bad. But now that it's been shown to be a lie, and that neither Silver Spoon nor Zecora saw him, the question becomes, where did Turning Page actually go?
Indeed. His disappearance cannot be accounted for.
Huh? Miss Sykes?
Could he be next to the body?
Keep it together, Athena. Sweetie Belle.
Huh? What is it, Athena?
That tip you sent. We've established you sent it, and how, but there's still something left unanswered. Why Turning Page? You could have implicated Diamond Tiara or even Silver Spoon, since you knew they'd been blackmailing you and your friends. But why specifically him?
Was he by the body?
It's because of what I overheard when I was hiding behind the statue before I passed out.
What did you hear?
Exactly what I wrote on the anonymous tip, Princess Twilight.
What you wrote?
I thought if I wrote that, it would be enough to save Scootaloo. Even though it'd make her really, really sad.
Did he accidentally go
Thank you.
bad?
Both of you.
Man, this is really getting deep.
And there it is. The last detail I needed. The last detail I actually wanted.
So you've confirmed those two things you were looking for, Miss Sykes. But what now?
Boy.
Can I do this?
That means he's gonna be guilty.
I don't know if I can.
Or he's gonna
Or if I even want to. I don't think I've ever wanted to be proven more wrong in my entire life. And yet, all the pieces of this ugly, frustrating, terrible puzzle have finally come together to form the complete, tragic picture. All I have to do is put it together. But if I do that, some pony's innocence would be destroyed. And what's more important than protecting that?
There is one thing even more important than the trial's outcome. The truth.
It's a banana.
You're right, boss. I have to do this. Prosecutor Luna, Your Honor, Twilight.
What is it, Miss Sykes?
Thanks to what we've just heard, I figured it out. The answer to the question that's been at the center of everything.
You mean the question of who killed Royal Order?
Who? There's only one pony who could have, and that's the son of the victim himself.
Turning Page! What?
What?
Yeah.
proved so in that previous trial!
You can't be serious! Why would you even think that?
As much as I don't want to believe it, it's the only explanation left. And the one that clears up these last and final contradictions.
These contradictions? You mean the breathing and lack of bruising?
Yes, Your Honor. That breathing could not have come from the victim himself, but instead, some ponies sitting right up against him. As Prosecutor Luna pointed out, they'd have to be small as a child.
No!
That night, there were 5 children in the forest. 4 of them, Diamond Tiara, Silver Spoon, Scootaloo, and Sweetie Belle, have all been accounted for. But, as we established, the 5th, Turning Page, somehow vanished. He could only have appeared to do so if he was hidden in plain sight. By hiding next to the body of Royal Order that lay in the middle of the crossroads. Therefore, the breathing that Scootaloo heard had to come from him.
Ah! That's right! That explains it!
Then what of the lack of bruises on Royal Order?
All this time, we thought that Scootaloo had crashed into him. But now that we know Turning Page was there too, we can perfectly understand why Royal Order suffered no bruises from the scooter. It's because Scootaloo instead crashed into Turning Page himself.
Objection! That is a completely impossible claim, defense. Turning Page showed no signs of injury during or after the event.
Objection! That's because we haven't searched him yet. Your Honor, the defense formally requests that Turning be searched for signs of bruising.
No! The prosecution refuses to allow this. I will not—
It's all right, Princess Luna. If Miss Sykes wants me to be searched, then I'll allow it.
The holidays are upon us.
Go to onehammerflowers.com
and celebrate the people you love. Happy holidays!
What? Turning Page, no! Don't you see what this means for you?
That's enough, Prosecutor Luna! Bailiff, search the young colt immediately for any signs of bruising. Let us see the truth once and for all.
Indeed.
Is that...
a bruise?
Yep.
On the right side.
No! This cannot be!
Your Honor! This proves that Turning Page is the one responsible for the death of—
Objection!
Hey, Mama, spoke up.
Fair devotion?
That's enough, Miss Sykes. I won't have you disparage my son anymore. Especially not for a crime he didn't commit.
What do you mean? The bruise tells us—
It tells us, yes, he got them from when Scootaloo crashed into him. But that's all. It says nothing about his culpability, despite what you have been arguing.
But respectfully, Miss Devotion, Turning Page, having submitted himself for examination, has indicated his guilt.
That is only because his father raised him to take responsibility, even for the things he has no control over. Your Honor, my son didn't kill my husband. I did.
Ooh, knew it.
You what? Order! Order in the court! Miss Devotion! You confessed to murdering your husband?
That's impossible! You just testified earlier that you didn't even find Royal Order until it was too late.
And I still stand by the majority of my testimony. But I must make one additional statement.
One additional statement?
Sugarstamp said that she saw Sweetie Belle attack Royal Order. But that was a lie. In actuality, the pony who attacked him, leading to him being impaled at the statue's base, was me.
No! That's not true! true? She's only doing this to protect her son.
I see. Well, as this runs counter to your
I almost
argument,
bet it was John.
what do you
Nothing but
think,
an
Miss
ad.
Sykes?
Seriously.
Your Honor,
That's
the
happened almost
defense
every
opposes accepting this new confession.
What?
On what grounds?
On the grounds that it muddles everything. We can't just take this at face value. If we want to reach a satisfying conclusion to this whole case, we need to hear one final testimony from Miss Devotion.
Athena's right, Your Honor. There's no way to determine if we can trust this confession until we hear exactly what Fair Devotion did that night.
Prosecutor Luna, do you have any objections?
She's freaking out.
Please, Prosecutor Luna.
No, Your Honor. I do not. The prosecution would also like to hear this final testimony from this final witness for the final time.
Very well. The court accepts the proposal. Miss Devotion, you will testify as to what happened between you and Royal Order on the night of his murder. Is that understood?
Very well, Your Honor.
This is
She was just pissed off
With
that he was
this,
gone for so long.
we'll finally be able to put an end to this ordeal.
And it couldn't
The
match
truth
this
is out in the open now. And all
Yeah,
that's
see,
left
they're
to shield
pretty
it
much over.
is one final testimony from Miss Devotion.
We're probably not going to get this for the next couple months. That was my reaction to the final episode of the trial. So, hope you guys like that video. Look, you don't have to see those goddamn advertisements. I have to keep seeing and have to delete. It really ruins the experience for me, but hope you guys enjoyed it.